There should have been enough light to turn off the headlights, but the clouds and rain took over. It wasn't heavy rain, it was raining, but it was enough to turn on the wipers. I wouldn't fish in any weather until the water freezes. I started this habit 6 years ago, after both my children graduated from college. At that time, my family life was getting worse and worse. For years, I wanted the kids to move away so Marcy and I could spend time together, if you know what I mean. Marcy took a different route. After the children left, she developed new interests and new friends, including me. Being a gullible idiot, I certainly never thought there was anything more. Luckily, I realized this before it was too late. Danny, wake up, we're almost there! My current passenger and fishing buddy, Danny Green, looked out the truck window and groaned loudly. After another grunt and groan, he grabbed the thermos from the dashboard. You're crazy, Terry. I don't know why I let you convince me of this. I only have 2 Saturdays a month, and you insisted that I go fishing with you today. Because today, you know me, I hate doing this. Fish. I smiled to myself when I saw that Danny had spilled more coffee on his lap than he had poured into his cup. This caused him to utter a few curse words as he dried himself, trying not to spill any more liquid. This is something special, Danny. I'll explain everything to you when we get to the lake. I really need you here with me today. Danny and I grew up together. Now he is a detective with the Madison Police Department, and I am the Deputy Chief of the Parks and Recreation Department. Overall, we are very happy with our work and life. We weren't very close friends, but we were close enough to go fishing together. After 10 minutes, the rain had subsided enough that we were able to get off the boat without getting completely wet. Danny was still cursing and moaning as we drove off the ramp towards the fishing grounds. As expected, we had the lake to ourselves. No one would be crazy enough to go out on a day like this. The coffee ran out, so all we could do was drink beer from the refrigerator. Danny looked at the refrigerator and changed his mind. Although it didn't actually rain, the weather was still wet and unpleasant. This is really not the time to drink beer. I brought only nightshades and porridge. There were no fish today. Drifting in a calm bay, we rigged everything up and cast a few lines. Danny, feeling comfortable in the situation, looked me straight in the eyes. He had nothing to say. He knew what he wanted. Danny, I brought you today because I need to find some fish that aren't here. This caught his attention. Which fish is missing? It's not easy to explain. Now that I think about it, it probably seems stupid too. When I planned it, of course I thought it would be great. Danny, I need to prove that I'm fishing here today. You have to prove it, and I need this fish to show that you won't lie to me because we're friends. My friend rummaged through the refrigerator and looked at me irritably. I think he drank the beer not to cool down, but to understand my ridiculous explanation. He looked at me strangely and waved his hand, unscrewing the lid, indicating that he wanted to know more. I didn't answer. I chose the freezer and took the long neck. The beer was too cold to drink, but we drank it anyway. Do you remember Hannah Marshall? Yes, she married a truck driver from Paxton. Everyone said the big guy played for the Devil Dogs. Roscoe Boucher. They got married about 8 years ago. So what does Hannah Marshall, or Boucher, have to do with the missing fish? Marcy started dating Hannah about 2 years ago. At first, I thought it was just a girly thing, like shopping and going out to dinner and stuff. Come on. Where are you taking this, Terry? Danny, I'm not the smartest guy in town, but it didn't take me long to realize that Marcy was cheating on me. I don't want anything to do with this guy, Terry. I'm not going to interfere in your personal problems. Wait, I'm not asking you to interfere in my family life. I just want you to confirm that I am with you today and that we have the fish to prove it. No poisson-hay? Fine. Without fish, anything you say might be suspicious. Danny finished his beer but didn't drink anymore. Damn, Terry. I think you watch too many crime shows on TV. This is the funniest thing I've ever heard. If I had said we were going fishing this morning, that would have been the end of it. I'd feel better if we had fish. I heard my fishing buddy groan as he reeled in the line. He tilted his head to the side and looked at me, covering his new mask. You didn't tell me why we're here, Terry. You didn't tell me why you needed an alibi. I turn on the trolling motor for about 5 seconds so we can get closer to the offshore platforms. I was very interested in what Marcy was doing, but I didn't know what to do. She didn't like using the computer at all, so I stopped trying to keep up with everything that was going on there. Marcy. I like her phone, but I don't know how to access it by listening to her calls. Damn. I don't know what to do if I want to. Fine, it's clear. You are a technical idiot. What did you do? I bought 3 voice-activated digital voice recorders from Radio Shack. I put one in the kitchen, one in the living room, and one in the bedroom. I had to move the kitchen 3 times to get it to stop. Reproduced. I didn't hear any sound from the refrigerator or other devices. Since we find ourselves in such unique circumstances here, I have to assume this idea will work for you. Yes. Within the first few weeks, I learned that Marcy and Hannah were seeing 2 men on an ongoing basis. It bothered me so much that I didn't listen to any records for about a week. Did you find out who they are? Hannah was with a man named Simon who worked at a weightlifting gym on Bleecker Avenue. I never knew his last name. We had problems there. This is not a place where housewives usually go to do aerobics. Where's Marcy? Do you know a guy named Carmen who works at Monzano Automobile? Carmen Cambria? OMG, are you lucky? This guy's in big trouble. We've been trying to lock him up for years. How the hell did Marcy break up with him? I don't know, but it seems like they've been dating for almost a year. Danny took 2 bottles out of the box and threw one at me. It's okay, Terry. Now I know Marcy cheated on you with Carmen Cambria, but I still don't know why you needed an alibi. For the most part, the conversations I overheard between Hannah and Marcy didn't matter. On Tuesday, when I got home, the photo I took in the living room looked a little different. I made several copies and saved one. This is for you. I stopped when I saw one of my floats floating on the surface. He stopped moving, and I started talking again. Why don't I play this for you? Recording. We were going to do it on Saturday. Terry always went fishing on Saturdays and went alone. That meant I didn't have an alibi. Saturday looks good to me, but we need to finish early before Roscoe wakes up. I gave Carmen the gun to Terry after he went to the lake. I think he will stay with you for 8 hours. It is too early? It will be great. Roscoe is still dead to the world. He won't be back until Saturday afternoon. Carmen said she was going to shoot him in the head and heart, just like in the movies. He'll wipe off the fingerprints and keep the gun. You can call 911 to report an intruder. When the police come, Carmen will come again. Are you sure you can find Terry's gun? Doesn't matter. He bought the gun from a detective friend. It is registered and easy to track. Terry had no one to talk to when he went fishing, because he always went fishing alone. Simon will remain in Atlantic City until Sunday evening as a precaution. If necessary, I can tell the police that Carmen was with me all morning. Either way, it's time to put an end to this scam. Wow, I hope everything goes well. I'll have $2 million in insurance, and you could see Terry go to jail for a long, long time. Hey, girl, it's time for us to go. Kolya's restaurant will open in 10 minutes. Danny stopped drinking his beer and just looked at me. I've never heard anything so stupid in my life. What do you mean? Are you sure they didn't pull your chain and set a trap? What do you mean? Well, maybe they found one of the recording devices and knew you were eavesdropping, so they started this little conversation to trick you. Think. Everything is possible. I didn't actually call the police or call you ahead of time because I wasn't sure myself. Danny finished his long neck and threw it in the trash. You mean the Beretta I sold you 3 years ago? That's how it should be. This is the only pistol I have. Damn, I've never shot this thing before. It was always on the nightstand next to my bed. Terry, if it were true, it would be bad. Because? Did you know that if you knew a murder was about to happen and did nothing to stop it, you would be considered an accomplice? Who will I tell? Who will believe me? I played you the tape and you didn't even believe it, but you're my friend. So you didn't do anything? No. Last night, after Marcy had gone to sleep, I took the Beretta to the store and disabled it. Malfunction? Yes. I fixed it so it wouldn't catch fire. My fishing buddy took a deep breath. Well, that's a big relief. Now I feel better. Good decision, Terry. We haven't caught any fish yet. Danny pulled the rope and removed the float. I saw him tie a lead weight to the bottom and hang a piece of pulp on the hook. He threw it into the canal and pulled the rope until it touched the bottom. 2 minutes later, he brought a foot-long suction cup onto the ship. Okay, buddy. We have fish. That's why you're here. We're leaving here. I have a feeling they'll call me soon if your post isn't a parody. We drove for about 20 minutes and Danny started insulting me again. Terry, I can't believe you're making this so difficult. It's like one of those weird urban legends you read on the internet. It doesn't add up. Oh, okay. It's not so incredible, is it? This can happen. I do not believe in that. This is the worst organized crime of the century. No one would be stupid enough to try something like that. I can't believe you fell for this. Okay, Mr. Okay. If the call was made over the phone, what do they want from me? Do you want me to call the police? Do you want me to warn Roscoe? Carmen? God, maybe Marcy just wanted me to file for divorce. Why would they do this? I don't know. I cannot believe this. Why would they leave a gun with no fingerprints when they're trying to frame someone? What about GSR and DNA? We are no longer in the 20th century. Solution. Everything is proof of technology. Ha! Who watches too much TV these days? I will languish in a cell until they fix this. Danny starts smiling when his phone rings or whatever they do. Detective Green, what's happening? As Danny listened to the phone call, I noticed he silently uttered these words. Damn. Fine. Please give me the exact address, but it will probably take me about 10 minutes to get there. Keep everyone inside and don't move anything unless absolutely necessary. Danny turned off his phone and leaned back in his chair. I take it you know the way to Roscoe and Hannah's house? 5 minutes later, he looked at me. Stop laughing, you smart bastard. It's not funny. I was still laughing when we got home. As the paramedics loaded the stretcher into the truck, Danny quickly stopped them. Looking at the resident, he shook his head in disbelief. A plainclothes policeman approached him, and a violent argument began between them, which included a lot of hand movements and unintelligible screams. There were at least 4 black and white objects with flashing lights on the street. Danny waved to me as they walked towards the house. Detective Wallace, this is Terry Connor. Terry, Don Wallace. When I shook his hand, he casually asked, Oh, is that a gun you have? It was a comment as a question. Danny stopped and turned to him. Wallace. Who said it was Terry's gun? Don Wallace seemed a little uncomfortable with this question. It was Mrs. Butcher. I asked her who the gun belonged to, and she said without hesitation it was Terry Connor. Don, how do you know? I don't understand. How did Hannah Boucher know that this gun belonged to Terry Connor? I have no idea. Someone take him to the station. We have a lot to cover. Inspector Wallace entered the house. As the ambulance drove away, Danny turned around. Danny, I haven't been able to catch much, but from what I can see, it's in pretty bad shape. Is Roscoe okay? Roscoe? Roscoe is fine. This damn disaster on the way to the hospital is Carmen Cambria. Oh. Terry, I thought you said you deactivated the gun. It's clear. Damn, it took me 2 hours. What did you do with it? I made a small hole in the barrel and inserted the bolt. When I finished, the barrel turned out to be quite suitable. I lost 4 drill bits while drilling this hole. Why? Why don't you get a hammer? I do not know what to do. Danny took a deep breath and smiled slightly at me. It appears Carmen decided to wake Roscoe up before shooting him. I think it was a bold move. Anyway, when Carmen pointed it at Roscoe's head and pulled the trigger, it exploded. It exploded. Half of the arm fell off. He lost. His thumb and 2 fingers. It only took Roscoe a few seconds to realize what was happening. 5 minutes later, when the police finally arrived, he was still beating Carmen. They had to use a stun gun to restrain him. Well, I kind of turned it off. It doesn't really work. Well, Terry, I cannot believe this. When we entered the house, Detective Wallace led Hannah out in handcuffs. I think he realized something. Danny looked at Wallace as he walked by. Also, pick up Marcy Connor at 321 David Drive. Whatever you do, don't put 2 and 2 together. Use 2 cars. Roscoe was sitting at the kitchen table. The medical staff treated his hands with some kind of disinfectant. This, of course, hurt him a little, but he didn't flinch. When he saw Danny and me, his head snapped up. Terry! Terry, is this damn gun yours? I looked at Danny with a guilty expression on my face. I don't know how to react. Yes, it's mine, but I didn't give it to him. I put it on the nightstand for protection. Well, you're so lucky you never used it. I don't know what it is, but I'm a lucky bastard. Danny understood my situation and took the plunge. Roscoe Terry found out what Carmen was doing but didn't know what to do. He warned me this morning, but just in case he blocked the barrel of his Beretta, this is what caused the explosion. Well, Terry, why didn't you tell me? I'm afraid of making a mistake, or that if the first plan doesn't work, it will be changed. If it's wrong, nothing will happen. Sorry, Roscoe, but I don't know what to do. I mean, I did everything I could. Fine. Fine, I don't like it, but I understand. By the way, why don't you get a hammer? Groaning at Roscoe's obvious question, I saw Danny smile out of the corner of my eye. Roscoe stood up, put his hand on my shoulder, and walked over to the refrigerator. Don't worry, you're doing well, oddly enough, but you're okay. He grabbed a bottle of V8 juice from the top shelf and took a few long gulps. I left while the police were busy with other matters that needed to be taken care of. 20 minutes later, Danny came out and told me to go home. I wasn't expecting it, but Marcy wouldn't be there anyway, so it wasn't a big deal. When I returned home, I discovered that Marcy had made new coffee. I think he was looking for company. I drank 2 drinks, then collapsed on the couch and took a nap. If I wake up at 4 a.m., I sometimes feel sleepy during the day. About 5 hours later, I was woken up by a phone call. Terry? Terry, this is Wilbur. Marcy just called me from the courthouse and asked me to come by after I posted bail. She won't tell me anything else. What's happening? Why didn't she call? You? Wilbur, I'm afraid your daughter is in trouble. She won't call me and probably won't even talk to me. You have to let me explain this to you because I'm afraid. You will not believe. To me. Damn, that looks menacing. Is she hurt or something? No, she's fine. When you free her, take her home. I will deliver all your clothes and belongings there as soon as possible. Will you be able to raise the necessary money? Yes, that won't be a problem. Where are children, you know? I'll tell you, Wilbur, don't worry. After my father-in-law hung up, I grabbed 6 trash bags and started filling them with Marcy's jewelry. First, I emptied the chest of drawers, then the closet and the bathroom. Whatever you can keep, you can get back later. I dressed the missing fish in her best clothes and threw the bag over the stern. I called my son Benson at his home in Clarksville. He remained at Fort Campbell for 2 years. I told him his mother was having problems, but didn't go into detail. I know you still have many questions, but I don't want to discuss them now. My daughter Sharon didn't take it so calmly. She and her new husband lived in Baltimore for about a year. When I refused to explain everything to his satisfaction, he told me he would be home the next morning. For some reason, she seemed a little angry with me. I didn't press. 20 minutes later, all of Marcy's luggage was dumped on the porch of her parents' house. There was no one at home when I arrived, and I didn't want to wait there. I went to Outback for dinner. I had a hard time finding a parking spot, and the boat was parked right behind the truck. I slept very well that night. Since I couldn't do much on Sunday, I spent the entire day taking inventory. I decided it was time to move on. I made 2 lists, what I could keep and what I would like to take. It's easy. I decided to take all the money I could get and give up the rest. I don't need a house, and since my needs are simple, I can find a job almost anywhere. At that time, I saw no reason for divorce. I had just finished everything when Sharon arrived. When we entered the kitchen, my daughter was unusually quiet. She made herself comfortable while I prepared another cup of coffee. The bonus started, and I sat down. Aren't you going to stay for your mother's trial? No, tomorrow I have to testify about what happened. But then they said I could go. If they need me for something, they can always find me. I mean, are you going to stay here to help or support Mom? Are you joking? She tried to kill a man to get the insurance money, then accused me of being with her lover, and then sent me to prison for years. Why would I do this to her? What am I asking? We talked for another 10 minutes, and then Sharon drove to Baltimore. The day was about to take an interesting turn. Since I wasn't very hungry, I put an English muffin in the toaster for dinner. When I took the honey out of the cabinet, I heard the sound for the first time. Before the toaster finished its job, the roar turned into a loud roar that really caught my attention. I looked out the front door and saw at least 30 motorcycles parked in front of the house. I had no trouble finding Roscoe behind the wheel. No discussion. He walked over to me, handed me half of the broken helmet, and turned back to Harley. I followed him and slid behind him. As I was leaving, I realized that I hadn't even closed the front door. I laughed and realized that I didn't care. At first it was exciting, but after an hour I had enough. It was easy to guess that we were going to Atlantic City, and I knew exactly why. What I can't understand is my contribution. By the time we reached the Taj Mahal, the number of bicycles had doubled. The noise they made as they entered the underground car park was deafening. Most of the passengers headed towards the casino, while Roscoe, myself, and 3 others headed towards the elevators leading to the main hotel. The 3 boys got off the bus on the 7th floor, but my partner and I continued on our way. I noticed that all the security cameras were covered with some kind of foam insulation. Rothko seemed to know exactly where he wanted to go and how to get there. 2 minutes later, we reached a rooftop overlooking the Atlantic Ocean. We were silent, and he noticed that I was looking at him as if silently waiting for an explanation, which I didn't really want. Around the same time, 3 guys came to our roof with a new player. Simon Walcott must have been horrified when he reluctantly arrived. Although he trained at a commercial gym, his physical prowess was no match for Roscoe, and again not a word was said. Roscoe simply grabbed Simon by the collar and pants and pulled him off the edge of the roof. Danny arrived early the next morning. He called me several times on Sunday afternoon to check on how I was doing, but received no answer. I just laughed and said I drank too much and passed out. Things didn't go any further. It was a busy day. I had everything planned and everything went according to plan. I spent the entire day reviewing and paying outstanding bills. I called Wilbur to check on him. He arranged for Marcy to be released on bail and placed in a shelter. He asked me if I wanted to talk to him, and I said no. I'm not sure she's ready, but she felt the need to ask. Hannah has no one to post bail, so she will be a guest in the area until her trial. I was on my way to dinner at Taco Bell when Danny called me and told me that Simon had been found dead in Atlantic City. He asked me if I knew where Roscoe was. When I laughed at his question, he thought it wasn't funny. His behavior improved when I told him to go home and buy a new boat. Wow, I don't need it anymore, and I don't want to spend a lot of time selling it.